Hello, all you beautiful drywallers out there. Welcome to a twofer episode of the Drywall Podcast. I'm your host, once again, Nick Harmon. I asked for one, but I got two great interviews on this one. With us today, we have Monica Schafer and Jud Togerson out of Paonia, Colorado, joining us for their first time on the Drywall Podcast. Monica owns a company called Paonia Property Services, which specializes in painting, but they recently had a client request Fresco Harmony, and in a town as small as Paonia, options can be limited, and they were up for the challenge. We talk a little bit about that, but we also discuss how a mishap on roller skates may have turned into an opportunity.
And we got really into skating. the four, not the inline, roller skates. We were going to skate every week. And I was like watching videos to try to be the best roller skater ever. I wanted to impress my kid and all of her friends. So I was like watching like 70s videos where they were doing like the, and they're coming around the corner, and I was full of myself and I fell. I busted my ass, and excuse me, can we curse on this podcast?
Yeah.
We'll cut that.
Ass. They can say ass on public television.
I'm
gonna write it neck here.
Someone's gonna go penis. It's gonna be Asia. So I was really into roller skating, and I came around the corner too fast, and I fell, and I busted every bone in my wrist of my dog.
Bummer.
And had to get him, of course, surgery and all that, and so with that, I just became a depressed pile of dookie on a shoe.
Because newfound passion for painting led her to begin a new life in Paonia, Colorado. She joined forces with Jud, and the rest is history. But it wasn't until they got asked to do some Fresco Harmony that they realized there was much more they could be offering. This conversation travels all over Colorado and beyond, and I know you're going to enjoy this one. Huge shout out to our friends over at CSR for sponsoring the month of November on the Drywall Podcast. Maybe you've been living under a rock, or you just aren't aware of what CSR is. Well, I'm here to tell you. CSR is the premier retailer of drywall products and supplies throughout Canada and beyond. They have two locations in Ontario, one in Vaughan and one in Barrie. Their most recent being their Barrie location, not to mention csrbuilding.com. Their website has just about everything you could ever dream of pertaining to drywall and equipment and cutting edge tools, while also being super easy to navigate. I know, because I've bought stuff there, and it is really easy to navigate. And they also pride themselves in reliable and expedient delivery. We just had an amazing Black Friday event at CSR where people were giving away all kinds of cool stuff. Everybody had a great time, etc., yada, yada, yada. If you happen to miss their Black Friday event, you can keep up to date with what's happening at CSR on their Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and social media pages. All kinds of good content over there. So make sure and give them a follow. But for now, Monica Schafer and Jud Togerson on the 117th episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it.
There it is. Hello.
It's like we're sitting in the same room.
We spent all morning trying to figure out where to sit, and
we have a surprise guest. Who's this back here?
This is Jud. This is my right-hand man.
Hi.
This is
Jud.
Yes, I'm Jud.
Nice to meet you, Jud.
Nice to meet you as well.
The muscle, the brawn.
The guy that helps me move the ladders.
Okay. We're recording. It's happening. Now, have you listened to any of the Drywall podcasts before?
No.
Right.
I got into podcasts more to get my head out of what I was doing. So I listened to like murder mystery podcasts.
Oh, okay.
I did catch ever since you told me about Drywall Shorty. I have been seeing her.
Oh, yeah.
Her streams on my page. I'm like, okay, I need to take some time to check this girl out.
Yeah, she's a badass. Yeah, very popular.
Diving into the genre of the industry, it's mostly been the videos of yours and then random shorts from. There's a guy out of on YouTube who does the Vancouver Carpenter.
Yeah.
Remember that guy?
Yeah, I think so.
Mostly drywall tips. He's great. So.
Okay.
That's the extent of it, and your videos.
Okay, and what's your name? What's your last name, Jud?
Togerson. Togerson. Togerson.
Togerson. Jud Togerson and Monica Schafer. And did you help out with the Fresco Harmony project that Monica worked on? That was both you guys. Okay.
It was all him. Let's be honest.
It was nearly. I did all my first trial. Everything was new to me. So yeah, Fresco Harmony. I did most of the work.
Okay.
One house.
Okay, and we're doing sort of a foray into a new. There's a bit of a whistle coming from your end. Is something cooking back there or something?
No.
It's probably.
It's no big deal. Oh no, yeah. Okay. No big deal. No big deal. So Monica and I guess Jud and we met through you started to inquire about Fresco Harmony on a project that you guys were doing in Paonia, I want to say. Paonia,
Colorado, down at the base of the mountains on the other side of the Front Range.
Yeah. Now, when I went to Montrose, my friend and I stayed at an Airbnb with tents on an orchard that's close to there.
Oh yeah.
It was
really close to there.
Yeah, that's probably Big B's.
Big B's, super cool.
Yeah, it's
very cool. You wake up and there's over the there's like sort of a marsh or a lake. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's Big B's.
Yeah. So we stayed there. Yeah, when we went to Montrose, I did a training, just kind of like a meet and greet with it's Callie. He's this dude out of Montrose that does drywall. There it went off. Something.
Right. It's the fan.
It's a fan on the computer. Okay.
Computer fan.
And Paonia and Crested Butte are fairly connected. There's a lot of people who lived there back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, in the before the ski area was too popular or the resort lifestyle really became too big of a boom. But we had a lot of people that used to live in Crested Butte and Paonia, and there's a huge connection because the Kebler Pass is
okay. Okay, and if you're listening and you don't know, Kebler Pass is. I've been around. I've been to a lot of different places, specifically during the fall. One of the most beautiful
place in the world.
One of the most beautiful drives in the probably in the country, and probably would compete globally on beautiful drives. But it's extraordinary, and it's hard to even quantify how beautiful. But and now also, if I'm not wrong, it's the largest aspen grove anywhere.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's like the world's largest living organism, single living organism. Those are connected. Yeah.
All the aspen. If people don't know, aspen kind of grow like grass. their root systems are connected. So they're like a one organism when they grow, and that's why they grow in these big groves. But that fall season is a very short one. When you're in Colorado, man, you got to catch that quick. You got a 3-week window.
Yeah. Yeah. I finally caught it this year.
And it changes with the altitude. You can catch it low or up high. It starts earlier, and then it just recedes down to the lower elevations. But yeah, that's a good.
Right.
2 to 4 weeks of peak seeing.
Okay.
I've been here for 3 years. I finally caught it this year. I was like, yes, we're going. We just took a day trip, went to Crested Butte, had some lunch, and drove back. And out of all the money,
off the road.
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then you see all these people with all this big equipment because they're hanging out waiting for like the shot. So you're like nervous because there's so many people. Sometimes there's like trucks and stuff parked on the side of the road. You have to be careful, but at the same time, you're just flabbergasted at the beauty. And it was so funny. I got the best pictures of my kid. I was like, school photos. What? No, we got this here in the
Yeah. And you have a kiddo.
Mm-hmm.
And
we actually, there's 2 families that combine to make Paonia Property Services. It is me and my daughter. I have a 9-year-old as a solo parent. And then Jud is married to Asia, who's back there somewhere doing some clay making. I think she's throwing pottery.
Nice.
And they have 2 kids, all relative the same age, right?
9 and 11.
Oh.
9 and 11. And I have a 9-year-old.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, he just turned 9 on Halloween. Yeah.
Wow, what a fun birthday.
Yeah, pretty cool. So far, so good. Fun age, that's for sure. Very cool. And do you want to say the name of your 9-year-old or the kiddos?
Yeah, my daughter's name is Linden. Linden. I had no idea that was a tree until I got out here. That is it?
Linden tree?
Yeah, the linden tree.
I didn't know that.
Oh, linden is a tree. I did not know that either.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we, in Pennsylvania, you grow up one place. And it's totally, I've never experienced anything like this. When we grew up in Pennsylvania, it was always, oh, what's your daughter's name? Oh, her name's Linden. Oh, Linda. It's like, nope. And then I came out here and it's like, oh, my daughter's name is Linden. And they're like, oh my God, like the tree. I'm like, what?
We're home.
Yes. Yeah. We're here. Yeah, exactly.
And only 3 years you've been there.
Yeah. January 22.
So almost 3 years.
Yeah. 22? January 22 was when I got here on the 1st of the year. And so, so January of this year will be 3 years.
Okay. And what's the ages, if you don't mind?
I'm 52.
52 years young.
I'm 35, I think.
52. I had you in your 40s too, Jud.
Thanks. That's great.
Monica, 20, 23, 24.
Yeah, I know I got lucky.
I saw in one of your posts that you found a gray hair.
I have been finding many lately. I think it comes with running a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's an off week and I get like a pimple, I can usually get 14 or 16, but the gray hair is really calling me out there. They're like, wait a minute, something's off.
You got some work to do to catch Jud and myself. For sure.
Which reveals even more I look older with a beard.
Yeah. And you guys have teamed up in business, and the business is called
Paonia Property Services. Oh, should we have done that together?
No. We didn't practice.
Okay.
You can. We can cut it and then be like, I can pretend like I'm saying your business is, and then you say.
No, it's.
He's not going to do it.
It's not. We don't have a little jingle.
It wasn't a horrible idea, Monica. I would have ran with it.
My murder mystery podcast does that. They always say it together,
I'm a pessimist by default, so I just have I downplay things a lot. So.
You're close, but you're not that close.
Which, let me tell you, really comes in handy because I'm the exact opposite. And if I didn't have someone going,
yeah,
bring it up. We got this.
Yeah. Jud's like, I'm gonna deal with the clients on this one, Monica. Just
let me
go and load the track.
Why don't you take lunch on this one?
Very cool. We're going to get into it. And then, Jud, you're from Paonia, or no, you're from the area?
No, I've been in Paonia now 6 years. I moved here from Las Vegas, but prior to that, I was living in Telluride for about 20 years. Telluride,
wow.
Colorado.
Okay, all right.
But I did grow up in Colorado in the Front Range. So with the exception of 8 years in Las Vegas, I've been in Colorado my whole life.
Okay, we're pretty close in age. I'm 48, but I played soccer on the Crested Butte co-ed soccer team, and we would go over to Telluride and play those guys. And they'd have these tournaments.
Yeah.
Like that were a lot of fun, just kind of a big party. And then we'd try to play the final or semifinal on Sunday, But we may have crossed paths in Telluride at that time. That would have been 2022, 02, 03.
Perhaps I was there. I think I was there. Yeah. That's where I started painting as a career because as a chef, which is my background as a career. In Telluride, the resort, and knowing this from Crested Butte, there's shoulder seasons, the spring and the fall, where the restaurant would close for 6 weeks or so. And it was during that time where I picked up a paintbrush and was able to help people out with their houses, and then it just became a regular thing. So much so that I would paint in the mornings and then go be a restaurant chef at night. So I was, as you know, Crested Butte is probably the same way. It's expensive to live in Telluride, so a single job rarely cuts it. So a day job and a night job is usually how I ran.
Drywall was a pretty good gig in Crested Butte. So I was doing drywall with CB Drywall, and he'd stay pretty busy. The winter would get a little tight, but they would they would plan the building of the houses to where the roof would be on by the time the serious weather hit, and then they could do all the interior finishing through the winter. Kind of like that. Kind of try to time it. Go ahead, Monica.
Oh, I was just saying with a propane heater or something to keep it warm when you're
Yeah, they button up the windows and there'd be heat. I know that my boss back then would stipulate heat in the houses, but very cool. So you said chef also?
Yes, I've been a restaurant worker since I was of age to work.
Nice. And do you do any chefery in Paonia?
No,
Asia reaps the benefits of your chefery.
She does.
Every now and then I get lucky. I get a bowl of soup at home for dinner.
A batch of cookies.
Yeah.
That was part of the reason I went to Las Vegas. In Telluride, I was trained as a sushi chef. So,
okay.
And then I ran a restaurant. I didn't run the restaurant. I was the head sushi chef for a while in a restaurant in Telluride. And then the invitation to move to Las Vegas came about through my karate. I was a karate instructor as well. So.
Oh, wow.
So when my karate instructor opened up a new school in Las Vegas, it's not a great career for money, but it's soul fulfilling. But as a sushi chef, I figured I could get a job there. So I did sustain a pretty good career as a sushi chef in Las Vegas for about 8 years when the opportunity to move back to Colorado through brewing beer, which is another thing I do. I'm a professional.
He's the local brewmaster for Paonia.
I would say local Renaissance man. more appropriately.
That's how I came back to Paonia as a brewer. I had put down my paintbrush when I left Telluride and exclusively did karate, beer, and sushi in Las Vegas. And then coming back to Paonia, brewing was my business. I kind of got burnt out with restaurants, so I was happy to get out of that.
Yeah.
Well, no, not currently. I have done a couple of pop-ups and some catering, but it's not what I advertise for.
Right.
It really works out when you work in the trades and brew the beer that all the guys drink after the job's done.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very cool. And then Monica, you're coming from Pennsylvania. I mean, we could get into your background a little bit, but why did you 3 years? So you would have had Lyndon by then. You had Lyndon in Pennsylvania, and then I'm going to Paonia, Colorado. You threw a dart at a dartboard.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost. I had a friend out here that we had met on the East Coast before we had kids. We were best friends before children, and then she moved up to New York and had a kid, and somehow made her way out to Colorado.
Okay.
And for 8 years, she begged me to come out here just to visit. And I always joked with her. I was like, unless you have a job for me to start and a place for me to stay, don't have me come out there, because I'm not going all the way back to Pennsylvania if you get me to Colorado. I'm just not doing it. You know that about myself. And lo and behold, we came out December 21.
Okay.
December 21. It was, I think our week vacation was like the 1st to the 7th. And we ended up getting stuck here because of a snowstorm.
Yeah.
And met from Paonia and decided to drive out to Paonia. And I drove in that night and knew I was going to live here. I think I flew back 3 days later, and 2 weeks later had the car packed with the kid and the cat and left everything behind.
Wow. That's impressive. Was it scary?
I was talking to an amazing therapist at the time.
Yeah.
who I acknowledged and said, I want to do this crazy thing that most of my life I've done kind of impulsive things, but this one seems different from the rest. This isn't, there's no I don't know. There's no background reasoning other than I need to start over, and there's nothing left for me here. And I just feel home. And they were like, go for it. We'll always be here. We'll always, this is where your family is. So if you have to come back, you come back. But I don't even want to come back on vacation, to be honest.
Right.
I'm like, y'all can come here. I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave.
How did you find out about Fresco? So you and Jud are doing painting, Paonia Property Services in Paonia. You guys are contracting and doing painting. How does that, do you both own the business? Are you working for Jud? Is Jud working for you? Are you just like 50-50 partner?
It started as Jud working for me.
Okay.
And honestly, we kind of just work.
Yeah, I invited myself to the job site.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I can do this. Do you need any help? Come on.
Right.
I was like, perfect timing, man.
In a town of 2,000, that's how it works. Everybody knows each other. They're like, oh, Monica paints. You should go paint with her.
No background check or nothing. I just got right in.
No, drug testing, though. I hear they drug test over there in Paonia.
Oh, yeah. No.
If you're not on them, hit the road.
Right. Right. So when was that? So when was this union?
I guess. Okay. So when I moved here, I started painting with another local painter. I had introduced myself.
Okay. I was going to say, why painting?
Great question. I had been going to school for biochemistry. I was going to get into the world of vaccines. And I had a kid. And all of a sudden it was, you either do it or you don't. Here's so much information. Your mind wants to explode, but there's 50-50. People want and expect, and you're just this parent trying to do the best thing for your kid. And so it became such a debate between my family and my friends and just people around me in the school system and all this, that I was like, what's going on? Why are we so divided on whether to vaccinate our children or not? And I was going to make whatever choice I chose for me and my family, but there was just such a strong two different ends of the spectrum on that. That it made me curious enough to really want to dig in and say, I want to know why we make these choices, or why we should be making these choices. And the best way to do that was to learn how they work and to go in that route. But then COVID happened, and I was doing chemistry online.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say you left the vaccination process right when they needed you.
Yeah, you really got out of the ideal time. I mean, she was like the person
out of there, huh? You know what? For the better, to be honest. Yeah, it's a very emotional thing, and that was the hard part about it. Was it's easy to have a scientific background. It's easy to have a personal background in experience with vaccines and how they've treated your friends and family, right? But I'm so glad COVID happened. I dropped out of college. I was in like calculus, like I was in like the hardest. I had done all the other classes. I had my associates. I had finished all the easy things, and so my 3 years left were all sciences and maths. And so, I mean, I was just on the struggle bus on the way out. But COVID happened. They sent us all home. They put us all online. And I was like, I wouldn't pay for this. And so I dropped out. And I started cooking for my kids' daycare. And we got really into skating. the four, not the inline. Roller skates. We were going to skate every week. And I was like watching videos to try to be the best roller skater ever. I wanted to impress my kid and all of her friends. So I was like watching like 70s videos where they were doing like the, and they're coming around the corner. And I was full of myself and I fell. I busted my ass. And excuse me, can we curse on this podcast?
Yeah.
We'll cut that.
Ass. They can say ass on public television.
I'm gonna write it back here.
Someone's gonna go penis. It's gonna be Asia. So I was really into skateboard, roller skating, and I came around the corner too fast, and I fell, and I busted every bone in my wrist of my dog.
Bummer.
And had to get him, of course, surgery and all that. And so with that, I just became a depressed pile of dookie on a shoe. And
this was kind of post the start of COVID. So you've got COVID happening. Everybody's inside.
Everybody's inside.
You're laid up with a busted wrist. You don't want to go to the hospital.
It was like the only thing open. It was the only place to have work, and then I fell and broke my wrist, and I was alone. I'm a solo mom. I do everything all the time, 24/7, no nights, no weekends.
Right.
And I'm in charge of it all. And
I get to split. I get to split with mom. Luckily, it's amicable and which it's helpful.
It's helpful. It's helpful to have breaks. But I had the wrong kind of break. Be careful what you ask for, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that sat me down for a good bit. But a friend of mine was a painter, and he came to my house one day and said, "Get up. I'm sick of looking at you playing Crush on your phone. This isn't you. Come to work with me." And so I sat there for maybe 5 minutes watching him paint, and I said, "Give me a brush." And I started painting with my left hand.
Right.
And that's when I realized I could actually paint with my left hand and do it very well, straight lines in the opposite direction. And I kind of shocked myself. So once the cast came off and the soft cast went on and I started doing physical therapy, it was wonderful for this physical therapy. I just switched hands. As this one got sore, I switched over to my left. And then when I was, needed to do something in a certain direction, I switched over to my right. And I was like, we got something here. So we together, that my friend who was a painter in Pennsylvania, we together made enough money in 4 short months for me to buy tickets for me and my daughter to come visit Colorado.
Okay.
And that happened. And then we moved here. I mean, it was like, I started painting as a trade in May. And I was by January of the next year. Now I've painted my whole life. I've always painted my bedrooms. I've always painted friends' houses. It was always something fun. I never thought to take it into a business.
What do you like about it specifically?
I don't know. It puts me in a zen.
It's very meditative.
It's like mowing the lawn. It's instant gratification.
Yeah.
You know, when you're good with color, when you like colors and you can help people pick, you know, they're I love seeing people satisfied with the job, feeling like they're in a new space or, you know, seeing something different and feeling better about where they spend most of their time. And we're really, and that's what I love about Jud being on my team is he's just as in it, you know, he cares so much about the end result and if the customer's happy and needing to go above and beyond every time to make sure that we do our job to the best of our ability. Otherwise, you know, what else is there? So it's been nice to know that, you know, we bring something as a woman also. I feel like I bring something to not only this town, because most of the tradespeople here are men, but weirdly enough, I say that, but not, because in the past couple of years, there's been a huge influx. Like Anthony is the electrician. We've gotten quite a few women, labor, trade. Asses here. And
it's a movement. It's like it's been a movement. You know, there's podcasts about it. Women in construction, a lot of big movement, and then the women are connecting via the internet and social media, and they can connect that way. So there's a lot of very influential women in drywall, in finishing, like these badasses. You know, I keep trying to get them to do fresco because they already have the skill. Like they would crush it. You know, it's the drywall community's challenge. It's nice to have this interview, but the drywallers can be very focused on drywall, and it's like, oh, I can't do that fresco thing because it's out of my comfort zone, you know. And it's like, you could totally do it. You're already using a hawk and trowel, and you would just crush it with, you know. Like,
actually, because we did fresco, we were able to do this drywall job last week. And have all the tools and basic knowledge onto how this was going to go. I will say, hands up for the drywallers. I would be just fine never doing another drywall job again.
Sucks. I don't want to do that.
That was messy.
It sucks at first. It sucks because you don't know how to do it. But like, talk about satisfying. Like when you get to a point where you can wield that mud, it's just this like really cool medium. It's not like clay and it's not like paint. It's like right in the middle. You can manipulate it and you can sculpt and you can make a wall flat. It's very cool. It colors perfectly, and it's malleable. Like you can sand it and you can like manipulate it. But I look at it very much like sculpture. You know, like even the second coat, I tell people we don't really sand, we sculpt. You know, we're sculpting these, you know, bullnose corners and, you know, making walls flat.
Well, I don't know how we even circled back around to this, but you asked us how we first found Fresco Harmony. Yeah. And that question hasn't been answered.
Well, I backed up strategically. Okay. Normally I would get back to it. We're almost there, but you're like, you're right on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
there's a method to the madness.
As long as you're on top of it. I'm so psyched to be here. I can't even think straight, to be honest.
Shout out to Bill.
Shout out to Bill. We have a client here. I will hold the last one.
Okay.
But he called us and said, I'm a general contractor. I've been doing this a long time. Building my own house. You know, we're doing it in stages. And I found this product that I want to try out in my home. But I can't do it. He was older. I believe he had a shoulder injury. And he said, I'm willing to hire you guys to figure out how to use this product and then apply it in my home.
We got paid to learn how to use your stuff, man.
Yeah, and it was out of our, you know, it's not painting at all.
No.
It is. It took, we watched a lot of videos. We did have some walls that we decided to redo. You know, there was quite a bit of learning and growing. I mean, the client was there with us the whole time.
He was so sweet.
Yeah, and just like let's try different. Let me, do you mind waiting a week? I want to order some different colors. We can make some. I want to try all these things. And so he himself was so open to, like, he was selling Fresco Harmony to us. He's like, it's going to be unique. It's not going to look like you can't perfect it, like.
Where did he find out about it?
Montrose, I think.
The drywall.
Okay. All right.
His house he built his own house, and then he had this expert in the area do the exterior stucco, and some of the interior actually was stucco.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kale mentioned.
So yeah, maybe, but he wanted to keep that organic sort of look to the interior as well as the exterior. So
right.
I don't know how he's done. He had a couple of walls plastered or even interior stucco. I'm not sure, but he wanted to kind of keep that going. But his stucco guy ran out of time or whatever. I don't know why he didn't just continue stucco with the rest of the house, but
I don't think he liked it.
Yeah, it's pretty porous.
There was, within the first week, I think something with the cat or something, or he dropped a cup and the coffee splattered on the wall, and he's like, that is just what it is now, and luckily they don't have kids. They're older and retired, and so we have a cleaner house than most, but it was dirty. Remember, he was like, there's no way to clean it now unless you do it over. And so he loved your product because not only get different sealer coats over it in different colors, like the smoke and the metallics.
So Bill was sort of a fan. He was a champion for you guys doing Fresco Harmony. You'd never done Fresco Harmony before. Had you mixed mud before? You guys were just like, you watched some of on the YouTube channel, you watched some of the Fresco Harmony videos. I think you reached out to me and you were like, hey, Nick, what the hell? What do we do? And I was like, oh, watch the video, let me know if you have any questions. And then you guys just went and started mixing mud and doing it. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, unbeknownst to our first batch, that 1 cup of water is very important. That 1 cup of water makes all the difference.
I think it's variable. It depends on your environment, right? Barometer.
Well,
yeah.
The first bucket, we didn't put the water in. But then the second bucket we did, and it was just like it was just like, oh, that's how it's supposed to feel,
Yeah, you get it creamy. My boss in Crested Butte would call it buttercream.
Yeah. No, really. It was like
soft serve.
If you turn your hawk, is it going to eventually slide off, or is it stuck to your hawk? How thin is your preferred batch?
It depends. My guy Jack runs it a little heavier. So a big thing that people that don't, a couple of tips when you haven't done a lot of drywall that you might find from watching Drywall Shorty's videos or some of these other women in the trade that do drywall. There's lots of great tips out there, but people don't realize, like, I have 2 buckets of water. I have a clean bucket and a dirty bucket. Dirty bucket's for cleaning tools. My mixer goes in the dirty bucket. Well, the clean bucket is for water, for adding water. So I don't want to add too much water out of the gate because I'm adding 8 ounces of water. The box suggests 16 ounces per batch, but that's a variable because like Jud was saying, the variable is not where you are, it's the temperature, I think. So in the winter, you're going to have harder batches of mud. In the summer, they're going to be creamier out of the gate. So in the summer, you might want to add a little less water. Well, people have different methods of that. They're like, oh, use a cup, use a Gatorade bottle. I do 2 Gatorade bottles. Everybody has their own way. But the commonality is that you do add water to ready mixed joint compound isn't necessarily ready, and at the very least you want to spin it up.
Yeah.
And so that's where you're spinning it up, but you're just adding the color. Another misconception is that the water is going to dilute or affect the color, and it doesn't. You can really thin it down to almost water, to like really thin, and the color is still very consistent. Yeah.
I think the only thing that I need to figure out is how to keep the chunkies away.
Yeah.
How to keep those little dried bits.
You got to keep maintaining your source, right?
Yes.
They just make their way in there. And
we call them some people call them hitchhikers.
You're going. It looks so good, and then you go, and it's like,
yeah, little hitchhiker. So cleanliness is key, and I think though if you're like an apprentice and you're working with a journeyman, you can watch how they're doing it. You watch how people are doing it. There's a guy, Phil, PRC taping out of Toronto, and the dude is he is just like, he's like a gangster with this stuff. He's so good at it, and he's a nice guy. I've met him, but he uses a sponge, and he keeps the edge of that bucket clean. So there's a way, with my 6-inch, I'm constantly cleaning the edge of that bucket. And there's also a bucket scoop. So you keep those chunkies out, or you could leave a top on your bucket. Or if I'm taking a lunch, I put my hawk on the top of the bucket. But I'm always conscious of that. And also with the sealer too, you'll get the white chunks. I use a cooking, Jud will appreciate, I use like a cooking spatula. Yeah.
I brought that to the
bucket.
Instantly. Yeah, instantly. So not only do I spatula the edge, but I take a sponge, a round edge sponge, and I wring it out, and I'll wipe down the edges of the sealer, especially because when I get to the sealer step, and I'm dealing with the white in the sealer, I want to it's horrible. So you really want to keep, and then that's also ensuring your investment in your product. I mean, the sealer is the most expensive part of the operation, so you don't want to screw up or let your sealer go bad. If I'm working with a dark color and I get to the bottom of the sealer batch, I don't take a bunch of sealer out onto my hawk because it's going to discolor on my hawk. I want to keep that sealer clean. I want to use just enough to where I can discard it, and I don't want to waste it. So I'm always conscious of waste anyways. And also if I use clean water, when I mix the last batch that I'm going to be using, if I use clean water, that mud will keep longer because you're not introducing bacteria into the, as a chemist, you would appreciate, if you're introducing bacteria into the mud, it's going to mold and get funky faster than if you keep it clean.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it could be almost like avocado, where you
oxidize?
You could have like a water layer on top, or like a
drywallers would put a water layer on top to seal it. With the joint compound, you don't want to do with the Fresco Harmony. You don't want to do that. I've found put a lid. Keep your edges clean. You can wipe them down, but don't, because the water will seep down the edges, and then that's where you get the bacteria, the gray. It'll turn gray. And I mean, it's not the end of the world. If a batch goes bad, toss it. Use a new batch. But that just a couple of tips. You'd think, oh, he's just coloring mud and putting it on the wall, but there's a lot of tips.
Oh yeah, you've got to store it properly. You've got to have everything that you need when you start, because you can't put it down when you start. It's
kinda, yeah.
Walk away from a bucket without a lid unless you've got something to put on top. Otherwise,
yeah.
We were pretty paranoid about that. We kept it pretty tight.
Yeah,
I'll bet.
Saran wrap in there at one point.
Yeah, saran wrap. That's a good way to do it too. Yeah, for sure. Very cool. So the project with Bill was you would consider it a success? Everything. Okay.
I think there were 5 different colors by the end of it.
Wow.
What started as a front hallway and living room and kitchen, it's one big area. He then had Jud go into the other side of the house into a hallway closet type thing.
Okay.
And then into one of the bedrooms and a closet and a hall space apart from the original, and they were all different colors.
That was a great job. I worked by myself. Podcasts on. Sorry, it wasn't an industry podcast, but
that's all right. You know what, Jud? I'm going to get your number and I'm going to bombard you with good episodes that you'll love.
Please do. Thank you. It was a great experience. He doesn't live too far. He lives on a beautiful property with a great lunch spot, off his back deck. looking at the mountains here. And he and his wife were so kind and supportive and patient and suggested he helped me design a bullnose tool, round over to try and figure out the situation, how to make that easier and a little bit more professional looking. So we experimented several times. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, really, to learn the product. You around.
So cool. There's a trick too. There's a couple of tricks. They actually make a plastic bullnose tool that works really well. It's like got a rubber top on for standard bullnose. But if it's like a weird bulbous surface, like I'll use paper tape, like drywall paper tape, and you can go around it. That works really good. If you ever do that, I'll cut like a bunch of pieces of paper tape, and you can like here we have like Adobe, so we have these big weird bulbous surfaces, so you have to like go around stuff. So
and that was one of the issues that Bill was constantly paying attention to, was the amount of dust. He didn't want, I remember asking you, how do we flatten these walls after they've dried without sanding them? Because he was concerned, him and his wife they have stuff that they need a minimal amount of dust in the house. And that was one of the biggest things that he just wanted to make sure that we were constantly kind of cleaning up after ourselves and not creating that big mess and not sanding anything. And so that's why, but it actually, what could have been an issue, if I had done Fresco Harmony and been able to sand it and knew what that was like and got baby smooth walls, and then this guy told me I couldn't sand, I'd be like, well, I just can't do the job, Right. But it was our first, and so it wasn't as detrimental, because we had to figure it out. We just had to figure out how to get smooth walls without sanding, and that's when he came. He was like, him and Jud, they came up with like 3 different prototypes. Using different kitchen tools and stuff to try to figure out how to get this corner need, because all of his doors were rounded. All of his, he had rounded.
Next time, Jud, just call me, dude. And I would have been like paper tape. I would have got you on like FaceTime, and I'd been like, just do this, you'll be fine.
I've seen the eyes sparkle since you've said that. He's like, oh my god.
And there, I saw somebody else doing that trick recently, but you called a little while ago specifically because of the sample boards. We were talking about sample boards, and Monica was talking about having different sample boards to advertise, and we got into like an idea where, maybe I'll just charge like a board, like $10 per board, do like 8 boards. You want 8 colors. This way you don't have to buy the mud. You've got the sealer already, but you can, if I'm knowledgeable that somebody can do Fresco Harmony, you're welcome to purchase sample boards, and I'll send you like whatever colors you want, and maybe that could be the new way to do it. I don't know.
Well, it's hard. I mean, we Bill probably went through 6 colors. And there was a time where we mixed 2 of the colors to create a new color to see if we liked that one better than one or the other. So there might have been 7, but they were all relatively the same color in a way. He did a light green and a light beige and a light yellow. And so I don't really have this range of product to be able to show people. And,
Right.
We did make 12 by 12 samples of the mud that we did have available to us. So we do have drywall samples of what we had. And Bill was great.
And Bill was the one that insisted on doing that.
You're going to crush it here. This is
you got to make samples. You got to take this with
he was smart.
His house is beautiful.
All right, I guess
I'll bet.
But I only have 4 boards, and I never considered taking them to a client until the other day when someone called and was interested.
What do you think they were for then?
I just Well, we haven't had one. Okay, so then I had a client. I had a second. I had this person call and ask about Fresco Harmony, and I said I actually have boards that I can show you.
Right.
And she's like, "All right, I love that. I'll see you soon." So I drove up with the boards, and she's touching them, and she's turning them all around like I would do with a paint swatch.
Yeah.
That's how I pick paint.
But you only get paint swatches only this big.
Yeah. These are like 12. Yeah. These are probably, what are they, 15 by 15? No, 12 by 12.
12.
So it was so great to have them because it was like, it immediately sold itself.
Yep.
She's like done and done. Like, and and I love that smoky, and I love that.
Once the feel goes on, the texture, the feel of it is so
nice.
Smooth.
It's nice.
But I experienced my first real Venetian plaster experience in Santa Fe, and I would walk along the wall dragging my body. It was so smooth.
It's lovely.
It's satisfying. Lovely. Yeah, I was like, this is amazing stuff. I didn't.
Yeah.
It gives me.
You still kind of get that a little bit. It's a little different than Venetian plaster, but you do get that like baby butt. And everybody over the years, everybody's like, people. The first thing people do when they come in is like feel the walls, which sounds weird, but that's what they do.
But it's not weird. And I think that's another reason why I'm so excited for this product, is because my whole goal is like, people are like, oh, you're a painter. Do you paint are you an artist? And I'm like, no. You give me a canvas. I couldn't tell you what to do with it.
Sure.
You give me a wall. I don't care if it's from 1920, lath and plaster. I will make it look brand new. I can make it look like it was a freshly installed drywall because of whatever techniques I use to get that done, right?
Sure.
So for me, like being able to have smooth, being able to putting in that much effort, like I've never been I can't do a slap on job.
Right.
If you call me and you're like, I just want to paint it, I don't care. I don't want you to fix nothing. I don't don't fill any holes. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not going to paint something that moves.
Right.
And so I just always have been like that high end. I've always wanted more. I've always expected more out of coming in and painting. I want super clean lines, no tape. I want you to find a caulk color that's the color of the wood trim to match it. Instead of just going with white because you don't know any better. Like, it's the little details that we look for. And I'm psyched.
Do you know that they have a caulking mechanism? It's called Create a Color, where you can create any color of caulk.
Yeah, the tube is a little expensive. It's like a one and done.
Oh yeah, they're pricey.
They're pricey. I think it's probably $15.99 for the tube.
The gun thing is like $30, I think, but they have a metal one too. I use those all the time.
If you're good at creating material, which you are, I say we team up, because I'll go with the color caulk thing. I'll just take that business and go with it, and you can keep Fresco Harmony.
Right. There you go. There was somebody that made like a little touch up. It's called Soto, I believe. It's a little touch up for walls, like little holes, and they had like a small color palette, but it's almost like white out, like for your wall. They were selling it. They were selling it on Amazon.
No, the next thing is colored caulk. I literally just looked up. I Googled colored caulk the other day, and called a company out of, I don't remember where they were, but I called them because they had 15 different colors that were a match to their flooring. They were actually a flooring.
Okay.
And they, on their website, provided 15 colors of caulk that
I don't know why I don't. It would have to sell it for like $14 a piece, because the raw material is so much.
Fresco.
Fresh caulk.
Fresh caulk.
Fresh caulk.
Fresh caulk.
Fresco.
Fresh caulk.
Fresco Company.
Okay, so wait, you had, though, going back, this client also had drywall that she wanted done, and we talked a little bit about you also doing finishing the drywall, and that's where you were like, and I recommended Drywall Shorty, go watch some videos, and at the very least get that, make sure your mud is thin, get that mud behind the tape, put on the tape, wipe it in, let it dry, do your second coat. There's a method, feather your edges. There's like a method. Once you learn the method, I think after that it's just practice. But people just smear mud on the wall thinking it's easy, and it's not. It's all technique. So did you do that fireplace?
No, well, I'm waiting for those samples.
Oh, okay. That'll be a while. That'll be a little bit.
We gotta wrap this podcast up. We got
I gotta make samples.
Yeah. You got work to do, buddy.
Well, I'm going to Toronto tomorrow for a Black Friday event on Friday. They sell the product, and we've got a pretty good at CSR Building Supply. So we have a pretty good following. We have a good following up there, and I'll be there and meeting people that I've had podcasts with. Call Jamie Painting will be there. He's out of Toronto area, and I've got a whole thing in like Canada.
Is he the one you made a post this morning or yesterday about the BOGO?
About what?
I thought he was doing like a buy one get one or something for Fresco Harmony. I don't know. I thought I saw an ad.
Oh, that's GWI. That dude is in England.
Yeah. UK, yes. That's right.
Swindon, England. So Ben Cole, really cool guy. Just challenging over there. We did a training over there after they started carrying the product, and we had like 30 dudes, from like Ireland and a couple people from France and Northern England, and we went to an English Premier League game. It was like bucket list, it was
how does it be
Liverpool.
Dude?
Huh?
How does it feel to be international?
Yeah, that's great.
I'm a crazy person in that, like, I'm so hard on myself, and I'm always just like the next thing, and it's why I've gotten as far as I have. But I'm always looking at the next thing. So I do love being international. It's very challenging. Like now I'm dealing with shipping, and he's having a harder time selling it. So. He loved it. I sent him like $500 worth of product. He did walls. He was like, this stuff works great. I love it. I want to sell it. We went over there, did a training. We had like 30 people, a lot of interest. And then after that, it's been kind of a slog. And so for these guys to get going, what drywallers have that you two don't have is a preconceived notion of how walls should be. So I have to penetrate that paradigm that drywallers go into it with. Whereas like you guys are like, oh, it's just mud, just smear it on, do it in base coat, second coat. It's almost easier for you to accept that you can do this than a drywaller that's used to like having everything perfect. And now all of a sudden I'm making it ugly, kind of,
you actually sound messy. Just like Bill. He was fervorish in explaining that it doesn't have to be perfection.
Right.
And it's because he comes from general contract. He's been building houses, custom houses for years. So he sees the kind of OCD effort put into smooth finish, drywall, your corners, your where you butt up to inverted versus outside corners.
Yeah.
And I remember that about him because he wouldn't know that we wouldn't know, but he was like, it's don't worry, don't sit somewhere for too long. Don't go over something thinking it has to be perfect. Like this, this, just put it on and just be okay with how it turns out. And it was really nice to hear that because that it's so shocking for someone who doesn't even know the product to say that to someone who's putting it on. It was so ironic, to be honest.
There's a dude in Montrose, John Galtiero of Galtiero Steel. He does a lot of drywall. He does a lot of stucco, but it would behoove you to, like if I got you in touch with John, to go over there on his next project or when he's doing drywall and just spend a day with him and hang out and be like, hey, I want to do a little dry. He's a nice guy.
We just did a trailer. We just did we did a level 0 to a level 4,
2.5,
3.
Yeah. So basically level 1 would be tape. You put the tape on, and then level 2 is coat, and then bed and coat. So then you have 2 and 3.
Oh,
yep.
We had to scan the ceilings, and then spray texture
for the hopper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Very cool.
And that was, like I said, I mean, it was exciting to be able to like have someone say, absolutely, come on in and join us and get paid to learn.
Super.
But my next endeavor is to hunt down a guy here. His name is Kale. He's been here for a while, but he's the stucco guy.
Okay.
And I've had plenty of calls, you know, hey, I've got some exterior stucco that I want painted, and I don't really know the right way to navigate that, or to navigate patching, you know, stucco, or just being able to explain to a client what's going on in a particular area or whatever, you know, an issue that's coming up. So I asked, in fact, Bill has Kale coming back to finish the stucco exterior on his house. Okay. And he said he'd call me when he comes so that I can just stand there and watch him work. Yeah,
or just tell the guy, hey man, I'll help you and shadow you for a day and learn how to do stucco. Like, that's a tremendous skill.
Yeah.
And that stucco guy would crush it with Fresco too, because it's all hawk and trowel. Those stucco guys are really good at Fresco Harmony. Like, yeah,
well, I figure if I learn stucco, I mean, you know, it's like, why wouldn't I take the opportunity to involve myself in all different areas of trade? Is that we really don't communicate very well, and everyone has the running joke about like, oh, it's the electrician's fault, or oh, it's the so and so, you know, the painter will fix it, right? Like, but in reality, like, we had the opportunity this summer to work with a larger construction company that we came in to paint, you know, after they were done or during the work. And it was really interesting to see, like, there's not good communication and understanding in the you know, what these two jobs are providing. So if he asked me to paint something, I didn't think to go, well, where is this going to go? And is there anything behind it that I should paint before I spend time painting this? You know, and then you find, like, wait a minute, I painted that, but then you put it up in front of raw wood, and now I got to paint what's behind it. But now I got to cut around what's already been painted, you know, because it's a different color or whatever. There's a lack of communication between like steps and process, and what would be the easiest way to go about something when you don't know how the other, you know, I don't know carpentry, so I don't know even what to tell him or ask him for, and vice versa. So it's been interesting to, like, that's kind of why I want to reach out into different trades here and just spend a day with all these different laborers, because it helps me realize, okay, how can I communicate better so that I'm not wasting their time, they're not wasting my time, we're not charging the client for painting something 3 different times because it wasn't understood in where it was going in the process. And I think that's the missing link here. So Paonia Property Services, I called it Paonia Property Services because I don't want to be just a painter. I want to bring the labor and trades together to have this, you know, almost directory type community setting where it's like, hey, I mean, I get calls all the time. Hey, I know you don't do this, but do you know you want to fire alarm systems? Of course. You know, and it's like, yeah, I do. Hold on, I'll send you his number in a minute. So why not just create that for this valley and know all the tradesmen and go, oh my gosh. I mean, even in my own field, there's 3 other people here that paint, and they all paint in their own ways, right? So we all have our own little unique niches, and someone's going to do something, whether they're, you know, maybe it's a one-man show, so they're lesser an hour, and this person has a budget that they need to fulfill. Call this guy, right? Call him and get an estimate and see what he can do for you. Maybe it's someone who, like, some of these women out here are muralists, and I would never, I can't do it. Right. So, I can call this other painter that I know would do this beautiful giant mural, and I wouldn't know how to price it or tell them how long it's going to take. Like, that whole gig is yours, Yeah. So there's no competition. I mean, there's always competition, but there's no, when you love what you do and you know what you want to do, it's no competition. I love being able to refer other painters in this area for second estimates, because a lot of times it's not even about the money. It's about how they feel when you're in their home.
Absolutely.
It's about, when you take your shoes off at the door and say, and they go, no, you can keep them on. And I go, no, that's okay. I'm good. My shoes are
drywall, learning some drywall skill where you can wrangle through a patch, because patches can be really lucrative too, to where you can do a patch, match the texture, and then paint. That's really strategic as well. Like getting good at patching.
Yeah. Nice. And that's why it was like, it can't be that hard. If I can cut a 4-inch square out of a drywall and replace it.
And it's not the pad. It's not like putting the drywall in the pad. It's the finishing. Yeah.
We can do this, and so it's so easy. It just fell into our lap.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's not so easy.
I tell people it's easier than it's the easiest system on the market.
The expected organic finish of it all.
Yeah.
Chaotic. I love your process, how you blob it up, like you call it jigsaw puzzling.
Yeah.
To me, and it's like, I can do that. The perfection of the plastering. That takes a long career to master. But this is it's almost winging it, and it's really.
And I feel like new people have more success because you're moving a little slower, so your break lines are naturally more messy than a drywall professional that can put it up quicker. You get more jaggedy, break lines where I need to concentrate on making it messy because I'm moving so quickly across the wall that I have to keep that break line messy as I go. It's pretty strategic. One thing I ask everybody that comes on the podcast is a pearl of wisdom for the drywall community. In this instance, it would probably just be for humanity in general, or the construction industry. You had some nice pearls, Monica, talking about how we work together to so that everybody wins type of thing. But we'll go first, Jud, and then Monica. Pearl of wisdom, something you put on a billboard. If you have one shot to say.
The first thing that comes to mind was her example, which what stands out prominently is that communication line. Whereas if a carpenter or a construction worker can anticipate the needs of a painter, then the timing of the overall build will be better. The frustration of all the industries would be less, because now we're like, while the carpenter's gone, we're talking shit behind their back on, if he had just done this, we would have saved hours of time, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
So sort of an appreciation for, I think there's a lot of respect for everyone's industry, but I think there's a wall, like our date for carpentry, or we're done framing here, the painters come in, we're done. And there's like one of my biggest pet peeves is the proud screws or proud nails on a trim board or something like that, so they don't do any nail setting, that kind of thing. And not that I would expect them to, it's not a job title, but if they had that thought process while they're on it, if they could just
they're like, just paint it. I'm like, I can't just paint it because paint doesn't stick to metal. And as soon as the paint wears off, then the water's going to get through the nail, and then the wood is going to rot, and then in 5 years they're going to call us back to paint it again. It's not. But if we sit here and set every single freaking nail in, people are looking at us after 4 hours going, what are you doing over there? And it's like,
let's go, just paint it.
Just paint it.
Just paint this.
Yeah. Then Monica, what do you got?
I stole your thunder, huh?
No way. There's plenty.
It's fine, I guess. I don't know. I guess pearls of wisdom. Gosh, if I can do it, you can do it.
You know, I also think that there's.
You gonna steal it again while I'm talking?
No, we're riffing, right? So I think there's what's not obvious to a consumer is the level of craftsman that painters bring, what craftsmanship that a painter can bring, the final touches. Mm-hmm. If you let the painter be very meticulous, then you're going to get what you want. Mm-hmm. If you're just expecting a painter to come in and just put paint on the wall and be done in 4 hours, then we're not your crew. You know what I mean? Like if there was
I think that's across the board. Like, you know, fast and cheap, good and slow. Like there's that saying, you know, you can't have all three. You can't have it like fast and, you know, expensive and fast, like all that. But yes, absolutely. And be forewarned too, when you listen to the Drywall podcast, we make fun of painters a lot. So just
I can't wait.
You gotta take it.
You know, we'll get that.
I am a little hurt. I want to put on the podcast that I wired yesterday. Okay, Nick.
Oh.
You're in the DIY category. I went, oh really? Oh, okay.
The DIYer for Fresco specifically.
There's the homeowner level of paint, and then there's DIYer. And then
there's the effort. It's the effort, is what it is.
Mm-hmm. I think there's like just the willingness to do it is pretty, you know. And then also my friend who's an electrician just did some fresco. He's like addicted now. He did a wall in his house and he's like, oh, I can do it. And I've already gone over there. We did some trading. He put in some outlets, but like I did a fireplace for him. He did a wall and like he's like, you know, he couldn't believe how messy he was afterwards, but he did it. He wrangled through it. The wife loves it. And, you know, it's so easy an electrician can do it now is our slogan.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, Nick, you know, this is a house that I live in and we're
I see the paneling.
So this is my training ground. When I get the motivation this winter when we're slow for painting, I'm gonna do some of my walls here and
now see that trim on that outside corner?
Piece?
Yeah, so you pull those and then you use tape on corner bead. But with some of that old wood paneling, you prime it first because that the stain will leach.
Gloss on it or something.
So yeah, you want to like use a really, really powerful primer before you even get into and then all the seams where that paneling comes together, you tape all those. You tape those.
Right, I've never seen that. Yep.
Corner bead, and then where it's loose, you want to fasten it with screws. Screw the shit out of it, you know, all throughout.
So you don't Fresco Harmony anything that moves either. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to. I mean, wood paneling's still pretty rigid. So the adhesion is a big thing, and then that rigidity. So you want to just make sure, you know, but I'm happy to also answer questions. We have a video called Wood Paneling and Wallpaper Cover on the YouTube page where I'm going over wood paneling just like that, you know. So
I've got a client that I have to call back who's interested in popcorn ceiling cover up.
Yeah. And then that's like, it has to do with asbestos. So if you have asbestos, you can encapsulate. So I'll do a preliminary coat of mud. You still get it coming down a little bit. You get a little bit of airborne, but not if you scrape it. If you scrape it, that's fine too. It's just a different sort of system, you know. But we've done both. We've done a bunch of popcorn. Yep.
I can't wait to cover up a popcorn ceiling. It's going to look so good.
Oh yeah, it looks amazing.
I've been impressed by the product. It's been really it's new. It's invigorating. You know, it adds more tools in our tool chest, and we're excited as painters to be able to offer that finish. So it's really thrilling to be invited to your podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for coming on. And we'll be in touch. I got to make those samples for you guys, and I'm really glad we got the 2-for-1 deal here with Jud. Great having you on and meeting the other half of Paonia Property Services, PPS.
PPS. We've got little ones and big ones.
Cool. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. We will talk soon, and I'll be texting you asking for some pictures and stuff like that. Your logo, if you have it, some things like that. But yeah, and you guys will get a swag bucket from CSR just for coming on, or 2 swag buckets for coming on the show. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having us. I am so honored. So glad we made this happen, and just you know, you really are providing me and my family and Jud and his family with a product that is, it's just fun and it's cool, and like painting is fun, but this is fun and unique, and like people here, like I'm trying to remember what I texted you yesterday versus what I've actually already said in the podcast.
Yeah.
But people, the motto of Paonia is, we're all here because we ain't all there. And so people here love uniqueness. They love different. You know, this is a mining town that was built on the miners in these mountains that were building these homes just to sustain their families. There's no code. There's still no building code here. Is there?
Same with Crested Butte. All those ski towns are old mining towns.
There was no building code. Like we're flying at the seat of our pants when we're looking at things going, why did they do that? You know, what is going on here? And it's every house. So to have something that could just literally go on top of it and be like, who cares? Don't worry about it. We covered it. It's phenomenal. So I'm excited to see what Paonia looks like in 5 years with this product coming in.
Yeah. Fresco Harmony makes it better.
It does. It makes it prettier, for sure.
All right, you guys, you have a good rest of your afternoon, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. It was a pleasure.
All right, bye. Huge shout out to Monica and Jud for being with us on the Drywall Podcast today. I really appreciate it, you guys, and it was kind of a lot of fun to talk to those two and maybe learn a little bit about painting. I know that we normally don't have painters on, but we're making an exception. We're changing it up here on the Drywall Podcast. Why not? Also, huge shout out to CSR Building Supply for sponsoring the Drywall Podcast in the month of November. Head on over to their Instagram page and follow these guys and find out how you can get huge savings. They also have deals running right now, so don't wait. Also, they're cool people. I'm proud to call them friends, and they provide informative and great content for the drywall community. Thank you all so much for joining me on the Drywall Podcast today. I sincerely appreciate it. If you have questions for me, questions about this episode of the Drywall Podcast, you can reach out to me directly at info@frescoharmony.com. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and remember, keep drywalling.